here once we explore. For today's lesson, we're going to identify and describe the ways of changing a solid material in terms of their size, shape, and texture. But first, I would like to ask you, classmates, do you have any idea how solid materials undergo change? If your answer is that we can change a solid material's characteristics by bending, pressing, and hammering or cutting the solid materials, then you are correct. Those activities could be done to the solid materials in order for them to change. Classmates, please prepare yourselves for its activity time. For this activity, we need to prepare the following materials: a tin can, a piece of chalk, a piece of wood, and lastly, a hammer. But please, classmates, take extra care on handling the materials. Make sure that there is an adult beside you. Remember, this activity is fun but with utmost cautious. To protect your hands, I prefer using gloves. Now, are you ready? Let's begin! Let's start with a tin can. I will be hammering the tin can. Make sure to observe, for you will be identifying the changes that took place before the tin can is hammered. Are you ready? Now, what changes did you observe that took place in the tin can after it was hammered? If your answer is that the tin can changed its size, shape, and texture, then you are correct. The tin can changed its characteristics after being hammered. For our second material, we have the chalk. Observe. Are you ready, classmates? Now, what changes did you observe when the chalk was hammered? If your answer is that the chalk changed its characteristics after being hammered, then you are correct. The chalk changed its size, shape, and texture after being hammered. For our third and final material, we have the piece of wood. Observe. What changes took place when the piece of wood was hammered? If your answer is that it changed its size, shape, and texture, then you are correct. The wood changed its characteristics after being hammered. Now, after doing our activity, I would like to ask you some few questions to really identify whether you have learned something from our experiments or not. For our first question, what have you found out? If your answer is that you have found out that by hammering a material, we can change its characteristics, then you are correct. For our second question, what changes took place in solid materials? If your answer is that the solid materials changed their size, shape, and texture, then you are correct. The solid materials changed their characteristics after being hammered. For our third and last question, was there a new material formed when the solid materials were hammered? If your answer is no, then you are correct. there is no new material formed when the solid materials are hammered, because only the physical appearance of the material change when they are hammered. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in my next video again. Bye-bye!